When you think about the rising tensions in the South China Sea, Africa probably isn't the first player that pops into your mind. Most people picture the usual suspects: China, the Philippines, maybe the United States, and a handful of Southeast Asian countries. But what if I told you that Africa, yes, the entire continent often seen as a bystander in Asian affairs, is now stepping into the spotlight? This unexpected move is sending shockwaves through diplomatic circles and making headlines around the world. Why? Because it signals a dramatic shift in how global alliances are being formed, and it's challenging the old narrative that Africa is just a passive observer in international disputes. So, here's the deal. For decades, Africa has been seen as a chessboard where bigger powers play their games. But now, African nations are making their own moves, and the world is taking notice. The fact that African countries are voicing support for the Philippines in its ongoing maritime dispute with China is a game changer. It's not just a diplomatic gesture, it's a bold statement that Africa is ready to shape the global conversation, not just react to it. To understand why this is such a big deal, let's rewind a bit. The United States and China have been wrestling for influence in Africa for years, decades even. Both superpowers see Africa as a land of opportunity, with its vast natural resources, young population, and rapidly growing economies. They've poured billions of dollars into the continent, hoping to win friends and secure strategic advantages. You've probably seen the headlines: American and Chinese officials shaking hands with African leaders, signing deals, and promising investment in everything from roads to railways. Think about it. Billion-dollar investments, huge mining deals, sprawling infrastructure projects that are transforming skylines and connecting cities. Chinese companies are building railways that stretch for hundreds of miles, while American firms are investing in tech startups and energy projects. It's a high-stakes competition, and Africa has often found itself caught in the crossfire, sometimes benefiting, sometimes struggling with the consequences of foreign involvement. But here's where things get interesting. Instead of just being a prize in someone else's game, Africa is flipping the script. Some African nations are now speaking out, taking a stand on issues that matter far beyond their borders. By publicly supporting the Philippines in its fight for sovereignty against China's sweeping territorial claims in the South China Sea, they're showing that Africa isn't afraid to weigh in on global disputes, even those that seem far removed from the continent's shores. This isn't just about making noise. African diplomats are meeting with their Philippine counterparts, issuing joint statements, and even raising the issue at international forums. They're making it clear: Africa stands with the Philippines in defending its rights under international law. This kind of solidarity is rare, and it's making the world sit up and pay attention. But why is Africa getting involved? Why take a stand on a dispute happening thousands of miles away? The answer goes deeper than just picking sides in a geopolitical tug-of-war. For many African countries, the struggle of the Philippines resonates on a personal level. They know what it's like to have outsiders muscle in on their turf, to face powerful nations that try to dictate terms or redraw boundaries. Colonialism, resource exploitation, and foreign intervention are all too familiar in Africa's history. By backing the Philippines, African nations are sending a powerful message to the world. Smaller countries deserve respect, no matter who's knocking at the door. It's about standing up for sovereignty, for the right of every nation, big or small, to control its own destiny. This is a message that resonates not just in Manila, but in capitals across Africa, Asia, and beyond. There's another layer to this story too. Africa isn't just looking for allies, it's building its own power base. Over the past decade, African nations have been working together more closely than ever before, through organizations like the African Union. They're investing in regional infrastructure, launching joint economic initiatives, and even developing their own peacekeeping forces. The goal? To make sure Africa's voice is heard on the world stage, and to ensure that the continent's interests are protected in a rapidly changing global landscape. To keep their options open, African countries are teaming up with everyone from Europe to India. They're signing new trade deals, exploring technology partnerships, and building diplomatic bridges that stretch across continents. This isn't about choosing one superpower over another, it's about making sure Africa has a seat at every table, and that its independence remains strong. Independence is a core value for many African nations. After centuries of colonial rule, the continent is determined to chart its own course. By supporting the Philippines, African countries are reaffirming their commitment to self-determination, not just for themselves but for all nations facing pressure from bigger powers. The bottom line? Africa isn't just a battleground for superpowers anymore. It's not just a place where foreign armies set up bases or where global corporations hunt for resources. Africa is stepping up as a player in its own right, with its own bold voice and its own vision for the future. Whether it's at the United Nations, in regional summits, or on the streets of its bustling cities, Africa is making it clear. It will not be sidelined. By standing with the Philippines, African nations are showing that they're ready to defend the principles of sovereignty, respect, and equality on the world stage. This is more than just a diplomatic gesture. It's a sign that the global balance of power is shifting, and that Africa is determined to help shape the future, not just watch from the sidelines. As the world watches, one thing is clear: Africa's voice matters. And in the struggle for justice and respect, it's a voice that's only getting louder.